about Linus's decision. Sorry, guys. And the timing of it, how difficult was that? Because a lot of the goalies were off the market at that point. I assume you had to not only go to Plan B, but probably maybe further down the list.
Yeah, I think, as you go into free agency, and I said this to you guys the other day, you know players have rights, and when you're at this time of the year, things can happen. We certainly spent a lot of time planning around where we would go or how we would pivot. I think we had a lot of discussions, as I said to you guys, with Linus and his agent from, back during the season all the way through until yesterday afternoon. He chose to go a different direction. I felt that we made a strong offer. But what we weren't going to do was go beyond where we were comfortable. We have to maintain flexibility with our roster and where we go from here. So we needed to stay disciplined. We felt where we got to, we were comfortable. When he made a decision to go a different direction, we pivoted then. We certainly looked into some, where the market was from certain trade scenarios, but for us, giving up assets isn't something we were comfortable with at that point. But we had done our work, and we felt strongly that where we landed was where we wanted to be, depending on how it played out with Linus. We're excited about the players we added there in net, and it also gives us the opportunity to. We don't want to box players out in any position. We want to make sure that guys like UPL are, when they're ready, they have the opportunity, but we have competition there, and so all of that played into it. And we'll see how it goes. It's going to be guys competing for a spot, and that's what we'll see at training camp.
Do you plan to still monitor the trade market, or are you set with those 4 guys that you have under contract for next season?
I mean, we feel good where we're at, but I think we're going to look at everything. We'll continue to have discussions. You keep your eye on guys that maybe could be available at the end of a training camp, and we'll evaluate that. But no, we feel good with the players of where we got to, and I want to make it clear, we have no timeline on a guy like a young player like a UPL. If we feel that he's ready to go, we don't want to hold him back, but everything has to be earned. So we're going to just see how that plays out.
Hey, Kevin, John Worrell with the AP, and with all due respect, I'm not. People out there are thinking, given what this roster looks like right now and the players you've given up, and with Jack Eichel potentially being shopped around, and with the goalies, that this is maybe a tank year. Not to say I don't. It doesn't. What's different about this one is that you are going with the youngsters. How do you view this in comparison to what happened in 2014-15?
Well, I think, John, I wasn't in this position in 2014, so it's tough for me to look back and speculate. But what I can say, that again, and I've been consistent with this, is we need to build around a young core of players. We need to we need to provide an opportunity for these players to learn how to play in critical moments, grow up together. We need to identify players that want to be here, and we need to be excited about that. We need to get those group of core young players into the community, connecting with their fans, and then you're going to bring in that next tier of guys like the Owen Powers and players that we just drafted, and have that young nucleus that really grows up together. And there'll be guys that take steps that are part of it moving forward, and there'll be guys that maybe they don't, and then we move on. But we have to know that. And if you go in free agency and you get emotional and you get away from your plan and you go sign someone and you maybe give extra term just because you want to do something, then you're maybe actually taking a little bit of a step forward, but you're ultimately taking a step backwards because now you've lost that opportunity for those guys. So that's how we approached it. Yesterday was going to be targeted with how we did it, disciplined. Wanted to make sure we have flexibility, and we also wanted to make sure that the people that we brought in wanted to be here. Short-term contracts, hungry, high character, and help in the locker room with some of these younger players we have, and that's what we accomplished yesterday, which we feel good about.
Kevin, as far as the Will Butcher goes, obviously they need to clear cap space. Do you owe them any sort of future considerations? And just, I mean, to get a guy like that for free, like what do you have in him? And how odd was that transaction to you?
Well, I think what where the position we're in is we could look around the league and identify potential situations where we really like a player. Maybe they've become expendable on another team. They're looking to move on. You saw what New Jersey did yesterday with their signing, so that provided an opportunity for us to bring in a player we really had targeted. We think he's had a good career in a short time. We think there's upside to his game. Donnie Granado's coached him before, high character guy. Last year of his contract, so there's incentive to see where we're at. But those are the types of things that we put a lot of work into for weeks and weeks leading up to when it happened yesterday. So to be prepared for that, and then certainly those are interesting. You've seen some of those deals around the league over the last probably week or so. But no, we're really excited about acquiring him. I think he's going to really help us.
You owe them nothing?
No, it's future considerations. Yeah.
Kevin, when you look back in recent years, the franchise has spent a lot of money on payroll without a lot of results, obviously. Do you, as you talk about roster flexibility and you're looking for payroll flexibility, is there now an internal cap on your payroll?
No. We, I know that's been a question that's come up. I remember last year being talked about. Not at all. What we're looking to do, Mike, is make sure that we provide flexibility from roster spots to not box out guys. So that's part of it. And then there's the certain financial flexibility to when we are ready to strike and we are in a position that we have got this core, we are ready to move forward as a team, you have the flexibility financially to go and make those decisions. And that's, to me, we know where we are right now. We know what we have to build toward. But if you get yourself in a position where then you can't take a step forward, however long that time is down the road, you're not going to be able to strike. And so we want to make sure we're maintaining that flexibility. So that's more what I guess how I would look at that. But in terms of our actual spend or anything this year, no, it's about putting ourselves in a position that we help grow these young players and make sure we're ready when the time is right to move forward.
And I assume you do have to mind yourself and watch yourself because you have to pay guys now. You have to look at Dahlin and Jokiharju and Middlestat right now. And those are, I'm sure, items coming right up on your calendar.
Yeah, I mean, and let's hope we have a lot of good problems like that as we move forward. When these young players mature, then that's how it works, right? You know, you're going to have to they get out of their entry-level contracts or after a bridge deal type contract, and they're in a position. But that's what's so critical on us identifying those players. We have to identify the players that we are going to move forward with, have success with, and then we make sure we take care of that from a contractual standpoint. We build around those guys. Everybody's on the same page, and then we move forward. And that, to me, is how you build a team over time. And I know that we all want this to be right away, but we have to be patient, we have to be disciplined, and we have to get it right. And we can't cut corners or start making emotional decisions or doing things that maybe in the moment you think, okay, this is good, but then you regret it down the road. And that's a really key takeaway from that we spent a lot of time on over the last couple weeks getting ready for yesterday.
Kevin, is there interest in trying to sign Dahlin to a long-term deal this offseason rather than a bridge contract? Is that what your priority is?
Yeah, I think what we've said, we've had good, what I'd say productive conversations with Newport Sports' representatives, and basically where we've gotten with them is we are open to any type of term that we think makes sense both ways. It has to make sense from the player standpoint and the team standpoint, but what we've told them is, let's continue the dialogue. Let's see where we get to. But we've said to them we're open to any type of scenario. I think Rasmus has been a player that from the day he stepped into this league, everybody sees the gifts he has. He's excited to be here. He even from my end of the year meeting with him, you could see that he started to develop a little bit of a leadership towards the end of the year and a responsibility that I want to be the best player I can be. And I think that attitude is infectious. So he's a really important player for us.
Kevin, you did get a signing to get a little bit tougher. I know you don't want Dylan Cousins the one addressing things when people are going after your guys. But a guy like Nick Ritchie, who can score goals, has some toughness, can do a lot of different things. Is he somebody that you looked into?
Yeah, we have a list. We have different players, on our board, and types of players, positions. When you weigh all those things, Paul, I think, when you look at a roster construction, you have to put players in a position that they excel from an individual standpoint, and then what are they doing to make the players around them better? And there's certain players that also, with what they bring, get people a little braver, get people a little more room on the ice. And I know the game is so much different than your old college days when you were probably fighting, Paul, but it still is a tough game, and you still have to compete. And the difference I think with the game now is it's just about competing, not in much fighting, right? So I'm not saying you're suggesting that, but it's about finding players that we feel are competitive. The puck's in the corner, you're either going to get it or you're not. And how are you going to get it? You're going to compete to get it, and that kind of mentality. And Donnie's system is very attack-oriented, very opposite of the way we were playing in the beginning last year, where we were more kind of back and on our heels. Now we're going to be pursuing the puck more. We're going to be trying to close out plays quickly, defending, so we're not spending as much time in our D zone. So those are all the types of things we look at as we look the players out there. Who can we bring in? How does that make sense for us? And then also making sure that we're providing stability for those younger players and not taking critical minutes away from them, but actually helping them. So we look at all those things. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably not perfect for me to get into players specifically that are out there that are free agents, but of course, those are guys. But then what we have to look at after that is where are we in terms of our roster? Where are we in terms of what does it take to sign certain players? Term, dollar, goes back to how I said in the beginning. There's certain players you would love to have, and then it's like, well, does that make sense for where we are right now? Is that going to make sense for where we are 3 years down the road? And you just weigh all those decisions. But no, I think it's a fair question, Paul.
Hi, Kevin. You guys made over.
Oh, sorry, John.
No worries. You guys made changes to the coaching staff and development staff. What can you say about those changes? And did you help Don do that, or did he handle most?
Yeah, Donnie and I worked together on that. I think, as obviously you guys know, with my previously in my career, been on the coaching staff with Lindy, I know how critical the coaching room is, and the relationships, and how much time you spend together, and the trust you have to have under pressure with each other. So I think first and foremost, it's absolutely critical that Donnie feels the comfort level with the guys around him and the staff. But I also was part of the process. I interviewed the people we brought in as well. Donnie and I, worked together on that. Really excited about the group that he got together. You obviously know some of the guys that have been here before, but Marty for us provided what we were looking for in terms of someone who knows the league really well. He has experience, and Jason's someone that's done a lot of different things in different years of his career, and that Donnie had a pretty good relationship with working previously other years. So came together well, and I'm excited about that group. And I think a guy like Danny Girardi, he's gonna be involved in some way, shape, or form in the organization. He wants to be. We want him to be. We know he's valuable. It's just for where he was right now, that role wasn't what he could totally commit to, just based on his own situation. But he's gonna. I see huge value in the work that he does, and so I'm sure you'll be seeing him around from time to time also.
And we saw a lot of teams add money, and we saw reports that some teams may have dropped out on Jack. Are there still multiple suitors with Jack?
It took this long on Jack. Yeah, I'll bring you up to speed. I think, I guess, just to kind of lay it out there, there's no change in the medical side. We're in the same spot we were as the last time I talked to you. We're continuing to have a lot of conversations with teams, and we're open on all our players, as I've said over and over again, and Jack in particular. The phone rings, we have conversations, but I think what's critically important to make sure is clear is that we're in control of this process. We have a player under contract. We don't feel any pressure. If there's deal out there that we feel is the right thing for the Buffalo Sabres, it's going to help us improve, whether that's improve right away or improve down the road. Those are all the things we weigh. We'd be open to it, but we're not in a position where we feel that we're just going to do something to do it. That doesn't make any sense. So, but those conversations are continuing to go.
Hey, Kevin. Just a question. Just do you think you might have difficulty getting to the floor of the salary cap?
No, I mean we still have players to sign to. So no, I don't. It's not something. It's not something that we've even really thought much about. You're gonna put together a team. We do it responsibly, but no, I don't see any issue with that.
Just as a follow-up, I'm sorry, maybe I'm electromagnetic or something, or whatever it is, but I understand your reasoning behind wanting to keep patient, and I believe the word you used was, you said patient, and we need to be disciplined. How difficult is that? I mean, how difficult is that to sell to Sabres fans?
I understand. I guess it's a good question, but I guess what I would say back is, if you compromise from your plan and you get away from the process of how you're making decisions and what we're looking to build here, you can critically make mistakes and take a step back. And so I guess the way I look at the reason I use the word discipline is because it is, I don't want to say it's easy, but you can go out there and you can go after certain guys and you can maybe just say, it's more money than we want to spend, or it's more term, but it's okay. But you start making those decisions and you get away from the process of how we need to build this roster, you can really set yourself back. So I understand, but we have to get this right. We have to stick with the plan of building this out with a young core, surrounding these players with the people that can help them. And then when we are ready and we are at the point to take that step, we're going to have the flexibility and the ability to do it. And that's the key. We just, no one knows exactly when that is, but we certainly hope it's sooner rather than later.
Kevin, you had said, and I totally respect the point, that if Jack were here at training camp, you have no problem with that, or even if he has to start the season. But in reality, though, if you got a guy with a C on his sweater who doesn't really want to be here and would like to move on, isn't that just going to be a huge distraction for your team if you have him in your lineup?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting way to look at it, Paul. Like I've said over and over again that we want players that want to be here. So I'll start with that. But we have players that are on our team under contract, and we aren't going to do something that we don't think makes sense for our franchise. We have a bunch of good pros in our locker room, younger players that are hungry, that want to be here. I'm not worried about distraction. I'm worried about doing what's right for the Buffalo Sabres. And that's why I say, I take the emotion out of it. We look at what is best for us moving forward, and if there's something that makes sense, we'll do it. But what I can't say is, it has to be this time or that time or any sort of pressure point. If it's the right time and the right deal, we'll do it. But that's just how I feel. I feel very strongly about that.